Hello everyone, welcome to beautiful Luxor. This time I stayed in the village of Habu, behind me the temple of Ramesses III, but today I'm taking you right there. Let's go back to the wonderful cemetery of Sheikh Abd el-Qurna. We'll see one of the best preserved private tombs of the 18th dynasty. It belongs to Sennefer, mayor of Thebes, who lived in the second half of the 15th century BC, in the time of Amenhotep II, son of the famous Thutmose III. Let's go! We're in a part of a larger cemetery of dignitaries from times of Amenhotep II, his stable 30-year-long reign. Sennefer's complex includes an open courtyard, and in its center is the entrance to the upper, now closed to visitors, cult chambers classified as TT96A. In front of us, the descent leading to the underground with the so-called burial chamber TT96B. This is a space reserved exclusively for the deceased, so you'll see wonderful things that were never meant to be seen by the living. A narrow, rather steep passage leads to a depth of 12 meters. Discovered in 1826, the tomb, as you'll see, is excellently preserved, although, as we know from the graffiti inside, it was certainly open already in Roman times. The stairs lead to this tiny but beautiful room. We'll return to this antechamber. We'll start from the burial chamber. Originally, we would have found a wooden door here. The main chamber is a relatively small room carved in limestone rock, about 8 by 8 meters. Its irregular ceiling is supported by 4 pillars. The entire vestibule and a large part of the ceiling of the burial chamber are decorated with bunches and leaves of grapes, arranged on spreading branches. This unusual motif gave the tomb its popular modern name, Tomb of the Vineyards. Thanks to the rounded corners of the walls, there's no clear boundary between the decoration of the ceiling and the walls. The fruit falls on their upper parts. This is an obvious break with the canon, an extremely bold design. This is clearly the work of a highly skilled and original artist, and his creation, also visible in the upper cult chapel, will be copied in several later Theban tombs. As you can see, the large unevenness of the ceiling, certainly intentional, adds charm and a sense of realism. The heavy bunches of grapes seem to hang over our heads, as if in an underground vine arbor. The entire decor gives the impression of an abundant place full of life. We're in Sennefer's paradise. It's hard to focus here, but the small interior is filled with contrasting decorations. The colors, after almost 3,500 years, are still very vivid, so intense as if screaming. All the paintings in the tomb were made on a layer of mortar and plaster, applied to the basic structure of hewn limestone. In addition to the famous vines, the ceiling was decorated with a total of 4 different carpet-like patterns. We see rhombuses, squares, and zigzags. The particularly colorful rhombuses are commonly interpreted as an imitation of the brightly colored mats with which the Egyptians decorated their home interiors. Such mats as ceiling decorations were supported by long wooden beams, which were also copied in tombs. The rhombuses here are divided by long stripes painted yellow. They were filled with offering texts. Such a rhombus pattern stretches along the ceiling of the chamber between 4 pillars. The walls are often topped with a frieze popular in the New Kingdom, the so-called keker, which may be, like many other decorative motifs, a relic of the early dynastic times, when both houses and temples were built mainly using papyrus mats. The frieze is supposed to refer to the ancient technique of tying together loose, wiry leaves at the head to keep them from straggling over. As tomb decorations, they appeared only in the Middle Kingdom. Sennefer with a Sekhem scepter in his hand, a symbol of power. He wears a wig of distinctly curly hair and a short beard typical of high officials. Merit, his wife, embraces Sennefer. On her headband we see an open lotus flower and 2 birds. And right next to it she's depicted strutting. Her headband seemed to have rather unusually a withered lotus flower in front. A colorful necklace can be seen through the falling braids of her wig. The image is signed. His companion, whom he loves, who is the place of his heart, the chantress of Amun, married, justified. There's actually no evidence that Sennefer was buried in this beautiful tomb. According to some researchers, he was extremely honored to be buried in the empty tomb of the wife of Thutmose III in the Valley of the Kings. There's also no evidence that his wife was buried here. Since the name of his first wife, Senetne, was written in the upper cult chapel of the tomb in as many as 6 different ways, it was initially believed that he could have had 6 wives. Today, however, we know that the ancient Egyptians were monogamous. Of course, the pharaohs were an exception here. Here in the lower chamber, only Merit is mentioned, his sister, as it was believed until recently. But today she's considered to be his wife, who probably replaced Senetne, who died during the construction of the tomb. Sennefer is shown here almost always in her company. Sennefer belonged to the true elite. He took over as mayor of the southern city, Thebes, during the reign of Amenhotep II. However, it was his cousin, or brother, according to some, Amenemhotep called Pyri, who as vizier of Upper Egypt exercised real power over the Thutmoside capital. Both probably owed their position to the vizier's father, Ahmose Homei, teacher of the royal children, and his wife, Nub, concubine of Thutmose III. It's not entirely clear whether they weren't also the parents of Sennefer himself. In the tomb, next to their names, we learn other names of the parents. Quote, his father, the second prophet of Horus, lord of Kus, Nu, and his mother, whom he loves, the mistress of the house, Hanutiri. The family ties among the Egyptians were described so intricately and unclearly to us that Nu and Hanutiri could have been parents, grandparents, or only parents-in-law of Sennefer. Was he the brother of the vizier? Was he raised at the royal court like him? Perhaps. As the mayor, Sennefer had control over the surrounding villages and numerous ports on the Nile. As an important lord, he probably had his own merchant fleet. Here we see him fulfilling his religious duty of every Egyptian, making a pilgrimage to Abydos, the national sanctuary of Osiris. All that glass. Without this, it must have been even more spectacular, but I understand why they did that. Unfortunately, the protective glass panels no longer allow anyone to appreciate the full charm of this tomb. Well... The so-called two hearts, a double amulet pendant, was certainly a source of pride for Sennefer. They were made of gold and silver, and were probably an honorary distinction given by the pharaoh to people of high status. On one of the four pillars, two wadjet eyes guard the deceased couple, as evidenced by the protective symbol, Shen ring, in the center. Merit hands her seated husband a bowl of myrrh and incense. Sennefer wears the typical attire of an early New Kingdom nobleman. A long, tight, semi-transparent tunic with short sleeves was worn over a kilt. It gives a distinct pink tint to his reddish-brown skin. Heavy, large necklaces, bracelets and earrings were in fashion at the time. Regardless of the period, the Egyptian nobleman loved to inhale the scent of the lotus flower. On one of the pillars is a scene from the Book of the Dead. The deceased rests in a wonderful garden, in the oasis of the Lady of the Sycamore, a true entryway to the kingdom of Osiris, the Duat. This was the place where the deceased could rest, chill out, drink some beer, water, and rest in the shade of the sycamore tree before his dangerous journey through the afterlife. The benevolent protector of the dead, the Lady of the Sycamore, was commonly identified with the heavenly goddesses, Nut and Hathor, but also with Isis. A rare scene showing the production of obelisks. These gigantic granite monoliths are a kind of symbol of 18th dynasty architecture. The southern wall of the chamber is dominated by scenes of a procession with funeral offerings for Sennefer. On the north wall we see a Sem priest dressed in a leopard skin, performing purification rituals on the deceased male. Sennefer himself served as high priest of Amun in the mortuary temple of Ahmose Nefertari, the widely worshipped great royal wife of the founder of the 18th dynasty, King Ahmose. Ahmose Nefertari was considered one of the divine patronesses of the Theban necropolis since at least the time of Thutmose III. She is the characteristic figure known from later Ramesside tombs, where she was shown with black skin. A large square frame shows a fragment of the Book of the Dead, chapter 151, decorated with a scene of the mummification of Osiris and an image of Sennefer's soul in the form of a bird with a human head, his Ba. It was believed that the Ba of the dead leave their bodies to travel without limits. It's this part of the soul that wants to leave the tomb every day to greet the rising sun. We read, "He praises Ra when he rises in life on the eastern horizon of the sky in the course of every day by the mayor of the southern city, Sennefer, justified." The deceased is shown worshipping Osiris, accompanied by the ancient Anubis. Osiris is shown unusually in his living form, with reddish-brown skin, which probably symbolizes his resurrection. Above the images we read, Osiris, Lord of Eternity, the Great God, Osiris, Lord of Buto, Osiris, Lord of the West, Osiris, King of the Living, Anubis, foremost in the divine hall, Lord of Ta-Gesser. A double image of Anubis traditionally guards the entrance to the burial chamber. The Lord of the Necropolis rests on two chapels shown here in the form of a pylon, representing the two horizons separating this world from the next. We passed through this portal to return to the antechamber, a room measuring approximately 3.5 meters by 2.5 meters. The height of the chamber is about 1.5. Here we can once again admire the ceiling with vines. Behind Sennefer, who's holding the Sekhem scepter, stands his daughter, named Mutui, in a tight white dress with straps. We read, his daughter, whom he loves, the chantress of Amun, Mutui. The bearers bring him various gifts, necklaces, funeral figurines, a cartonnage mask, a heart-shaped vase. We read, following all the good things into the tomb, as is done for the first friend, the mayor of the southern city, the one favored by the good king, Sennefer. The honors and titles with which Amenhotep II bestowed upon Sennefer are recalled by him with pride. We read, I reached the state of venerable old age under the king, in that I was the confidant of the Lord of the Two Lands. The king knew of my excellence, and he knew that I did useful things in the service in which he had placed me. He investigated everywhere, but could find nothing bad of me. I was praised because of this, and my every need was catered for. He appointed me as chief administrator and mayor of the southern city, as overseer of the granary of Amun, overseer of the fields of Amun, as overseer of the gardens of Amun, Mayor Sennefer, justified by the great God. It's no wonder why this tomb is probably the most popular among tourists visiting the Valley of the Nobles in western Thebes. It's a true symbol of my beloved necropolis in Sheikh Abd el-Qurna. And here behind me is the entrance to the unfortunately closed upper chambers of Sennefer. I'm preparing more videos from nearby tombs, and in the description you'll find other Luxor tombs that I've already filmed for you. Time to go back to the village of Habu, where I always stay during my visits in Luxor. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to my channel, like my video and share it with your friends. Please also leave a comment below. And if you're interested in the history of ancient Egypt, please check out my podcast. I'd like to thank all my patrons. You know that without you, this wouldn't be possible. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. And if you'd like to support me, I left my Patreon link below in the description. Thank you. And see you on another ancient site.